Welcome, everyone. This is Ruben. Stay tuned for the next REI Talk with Hyrum Gomez. All right, welcome everyone for another episode of REI Talk. I'm here with Hyrum Gomez, and he's gonna tell us a little bit about his journey. Hyrum, thank you for being on show and welcome.
Of course, man. It's my pleasure. It's awesome to be here. This is one of my first times like coming on something like this. So it's really exciting.
All right, great, man, great. I'm happy for you. So, hey, before we get started on the real estate side, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. Well, I'm Hyrum Gomez. I am actually 28 years old and I really like music, as you can tell. I also spent 2 years outside of this country serving a mission for my church. And I like to serve. I like to have fun, man. And I like to, right now, I'm very ambitious in real estate, really, to be honest.
All
I
right.
can't wait to get started to talk on that.
All right, great, man. And thank you for serving, thank you for serving, people in what you do. So that's always an awesome thing to hear, people giving back. So I love that. I love that. Thank you so much for that.
Yes,
So,
sir.
all right. So, this obviously is a show about real estate. So tell us what got you into real estate? Kind of talk us through that.
All right, Ruben. Well, here's what happened, man. I was actually doing network marketing. I don't know if you've heard about that, but
I've heard
I
about
was
it, but
actually in the
I
company.
don't know anything about it. Go ahead.
Yeah, a lot of people call it, a pyramid scheme. A lot of people just think that it's the most legit way to make money for anybody that wants to start out making money, for any beginning entrepreneur.
Hmm.
And then you find a lot of people in the middle. So you get two extremes
Hmm.
and then people in the middle. And I started doing that right as I got back from that mission that I was serving for my church, because I didn't know what I really wanted to do with my life. And I didn't want to really go to school. And then when I was presented this opportunity, in network marketing to become an entrepreneur, be my own boss, and set my own hours and make an unlimited amount of money, well, that attracted me. You know what I mean? So I got started with that in 2014. But then I think around 2018, I just completely stopped. And, I don't want to get into it all right now, but it just became something that wasn't like for me anymore.
Okay.
I have a complete video that I made on my own channel, kind of describing what happened there.
Okay.
But just because like I quit didn't mean that I was done being an entrepreneur. I still wanted to create something. I still wanted to build something and I wanted to make money. And so that's when I came across like other guys that were my age in the YouTube space. I came across Bigger Pockets and I came across, I don't know if you've heard them, Graham Stephan, Meet Kevin,
Oh yeah,
Chandler
yeah,
Smith,
yeah.
a ton of other guys, that started their YouTube channels through real estate, and they were all my age and they were making millions of dollars. And I was like, I think I'm gonna need to get on this. And that's actually how I kind of started, my interest in real estate and how I eventually got started.
Yeah, well, yeah, awesome. Yeah, Graham Stephan, I think, man, that guy is a multimillionaire with just his YouTube channel,
Yeah,
aside from his real estate. And I think
yeah,
I read or heard on TV or something that he actually moved out of California or something. Yeah,
that's right. He's moving to Las Vegas.
yeah, and actually, I've also seen some videos on Meet Kevin. He's pretty big on YouTube as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
but all right,
and
great.
and, and they're and they're both big, on YouTube,
Hmm.
but like they got started in real estate. And
Right.
I feel like that for me, that spoke out to me, especially after having gone through what I went through with network marketing. I was really just ready for a legit way to make money. And
Awesome.
I have found that through real estate.
Okay, great, great. So, speaking of real estate, are you in single family homes, multifamily? Tell us a little bit about
So
what properties you have.
right now, I'm doing single family homes. That's my
Mhm.
strategy right now. I think that is the best way for someone starting out to do it that way, just because I don't know, man. If you get into multifamily like right away, right out of the gate when you're first starting, it could be a little overwhelming. And then especially if you don't know what you're doing, you're a beginner and you don't really have anyone guiding you. then it might be a little harder for most people, I think, to start out multifamily. So right now I am doing single family homes. I'm just getting the ball rolling, getting started. I don't know everything, and I don't claim to know everything,
Hmm.
but I'm learning as I'm earning.
Right. So it's interesting to hear you say that, Hiram, because man, I couldn't agree with you anymore when it comes to when you first start out going the single family route. And I completely agree with you. And this is, let me add a little bit more to what you just said.
Yeah.
Uh, when I've been getting a lot of phone calls, via or phone calls, or if not, messages on Messenger or Instagram, people that want to get started. So my opinion of that is just like yours, is start with a single family home. And here's one of the biggest reasons why. Like you said, you're new to the game, you don't know what you're really doing, and you need to be thinking, if you end up acquiring a property because you want to be a real estate investor, you want to be a landlord. So you
Yeah.
go through the process, you acquire property, and then you start being a landlord. 2, 3, 4, 5 months down the road, you know, you end up realizing or thinking, man, this is not for me. Because it's not for
Hmm.
everybody. Being a real estate
That's right.
investor or a landlord, it's not for everyone. And if you acquire a multifamily house or property, and you come to find out a few months down the road that this is not for you, then now you're going to have to get rid of it. What's your exit strategy? And
Yeah, that's so
I'm
true.
under the opinion that if to get out of that property, it's a lot easier, and you're probably going to be a lot more profitable, or at least break even on a single family home versus a multifamily. Because multifamily homes or multifamily properties, it's investors that are looking for that, right? Whether they're
That's
going to
right.
house hack it, or whether they're just going to buy it, acquire it, and then rent both sides, or three sides, or four sides, whatever type of property that you have. And if
Hmm.
it's an investor, they want a deal, right? I mean, as investors, we go out there looking for the deal because we make our money acquiring the property. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I do.
Right. And
Yeah.
and when it comes to single family home, if you decide that that's not for you, then now to get rid of it, you just put it on the market, and the likelihood of making money or breaking, at the bare minimum, breaking even, is probably a lot greater in a single family home, because now you've opened up the market to just that next family looking for that next home, or looking for their first home.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the reality, right? All of the multifamilies are going to be more attractive to investors. I mean, that's what investors want, is more units usually, right?
Right.
And so whenever you're trying to sell that, there's no family, or a young family just starting out that's going to want to move into a triplex.
Hmm.
Most of the time they're looking for that dream home, or that starter home to get their
Right.
family started on. And so single family houses are more appealing and attractive to the general public, than rather than something like a multifamily. And
Right.
so it's going to be harder to sell. Yeah, just like you said, I
Yeah.
completely agree on that.
Yeah. And if you
Yeah.
have a family looking for a duplex or triplex or fourplex, there's an investor in that family, and they're trying to house
Yeah.
hack, right?
Yeah.
So
That's
obviously
right.
they're gonna want a great deal. So all right, great. So tell us about your first property. Tell us that story.
Okay, so I don't want to confuse anybody, right? Because this is what happened. I bought a house back in, I believe it was 2018.
Hmm.
And in 2018, I bought this house not as an investor. I bought it kind of like how I just explained to you, like that young family just starting out. They just had a kid. They want more space, no more living in an apartment. And we bought a house pretty much at market value. And that house is our rental now. But I wouldn't have turned that property into a rental had I not learned about like real estate and wanting to invest. So really and truly, like that was my first property, the
Hmm.
one that I bought in 2018, and I bought it for 130,000. There was another family that wanted to buy it for 135,000. But guess what, Ruben? I'll give y'all a nugget right here. If you don't know this already, sometimes you just got to strike when the iron's hot. You got to be first.
Hmm.
Because what ended up happening with this house, even though we pretty much bought it at market value, we were the first ones to get into that property with our agent. We walked it through, and then we were the first ones to submit an offer. Right after, someone else came looked at it and they wanted to offer $5,000 more for 135. But because we were the first ones, I mean, I don't know, that family that was selling the house to us, they were just super nice, and they said, you know what, you guys were first. We like you guys, so we'll go ahead and continue with your offer first. And I was
Awesome.
like, man, that's super cool, you know. So sometimes you just you gotta be on it. You gotta
Yeah.
be the first one there.
Yeah.
Um,
So, and that's one thing about real estate, Hiram. I know that as investors, we're trying to buy, properties at a discount or with instant equity, or, a fixer up or whatever the case may be. But you know what? The great thing about real estate, it doesn't always have to be that way.
yeah.
Like you just said, you acquired your first home, you converted that into an investment property, right?
Hmm.
And you know what? I did the same thing on one of my properties. When I bought this property, I didn't buy it with the intent of becoming a real estate investor. Now, I kind of had that in mind, but that was not really why I acquired that property. I acquired that property because I wanted to buy it.
Yeah.
And I was just very fortunate that I did get it at a good deal. And that property, I bought it in 2016. And here on May of 2021, I will have owned it for 5 years. And man, that thing has um, appreciated almost 100 grand. Right now, the real estate
Wow.
market in San Antonio is just hot.
Yeah.
So, and I'm cash flowing very well. I think 500 $500 a month of cash flow on that. So
Nice.
it just ended up that way, right? So okay, well, good. So
That's
did
awesome,
you
man.
and you've been a real estate investor how long now?
So I don't know when you would call it that that you know I be or I don't know when you would call me an investor, when I bought that house or when I bought this one that I'm living in right now.
What just when you converted, when you had your first property, how's that?
Yeah, so it's been, I guess, 2 years when I got
Okay,
my first property,
great.
2018. Yeah.
Okay, and so what have you had any up and downs? What would is there something that that's been you've had a challenge with, or what can you tell us about that experience?
Yeah, I've had up and downs. So one up and down that I'll share with you, and then I'll share another one that just came to mind too. But the first one is, I was living in that house, right?
Hmm.
And during that time, back in 2018 when we bought that, I was still doing network marketing, and then I quit. And then I was like, I really want to get started in real estate. And I was like, how do I get started? And for me, Ruben, I don't know if this is for you, like if it was the same with you, but with me, man, um, I had so much trouble like knowing which one was like which was a good deal and how I can actually get started.
Hmm.
And that for me was just like, it took a while, and it was one of the downs, because I really wanted to go ahead and get started and go, but there's a barrier to entry when you want to start real estate, and I think that's a good thing, because you need to learn kind of how to get started, and you need to find the right deal. And I remember talking to my wife, and I'm just like, hey, like, I want to buy a house, like, and I would go through Zillow, and I'd be like, what do you think about this, and what do you think about that? And she would, I kind of like feel weird about it, like they're too expensive, and I'm like, yeah, you're right. Like, my wife just kind of like has a knack for that sometimes, so I get a lot of help from her, and I was just stuck, man. And then eventually, I think it was a Bigger Pockets podcast that I was listening to, and they said, and turn the house that you're living in into your investment property. Like, let that one be your rental. You just move out and go to another one, and then you kind of repeat the process. I was like, dude, that why hadn't I thought about that?
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, that was one of the downs, because I really didn't know how to get started. And like when I would talk to my wife, I would always feel like discouraged, because she would always say like, well, things were a little too expensive. But hindsight, looking back, she was helping me out, a lot.
Right. So the barriers of entry that you talk about and getting started, were they the actual barriers, because this show is kind of geared towards beginners. Um, was it finding what made sense numbers wise? Was that what you were struggling with, or was that your challenge? Or was it, sometimes a lot of people that I talk to is like, man, I got to come up with 20% down. Well, the way you did it, you don't necessarily have to do that, because you
That's
can
right.
move into a property with you can get an FHA loan with as little as 3.5% down, or you can get a conventional loan with as little as 5% down.
Así
So
es.
so
Yep.
was it for you, having the capital? Was it just finding a good deal that made sense numbers wise? Is that kind of what you were struggling with?
Yes, it was both. Yeah, it was both. It was just finding a property that made sense to actually invest in, and then coming up with that money. But then again, Ruben, como te dije, like as soon as I found out I can rent that one and move into another one, then I was like, yeah, I don't have to pay 20% down, man. I don't have
Hmm.
to spend thousands of dollars on a down payment. And then still I have to pay the closing costs and take care of like any other stuff that I might have to fix on the next property. So when I found that out, I ended up buying this one for 5% down because we moved into it. I had an FHA loan on that one, which I still have it. And then I have a conventional 5% because this is my primary
Right.
residence.
So
So,
let me share a little nugget with you when it comes to owner occupants.
all right,
Matter of fact, on Monday we're scheduled to close on another property, and that property is going to be an owner occupant. Which so
right,
me and my family are moving into it, and the house that you see me in right now, that we're going to convert that into a rental. But here's the thing:
nice.
that house that we just bought, it's a HUD foreclosure. That house in 2017 sold for 326. Okay.
Okay.
And I purchased it at 263, a HUD foreclosure.
Wow.
So,
Nice.
and this house, all it needs is a refrigerator, which I've already ordered. I actually have it here already, and a good cleaning of just a house, and that's it. That is it.
Perfecto.
Yes,
Perfecto.
and here's the benefit of that. You move into it. Two things I can do with it. So I already got two extra strategies. I can live in it for 2 years, turn around, sell it, take all that capital gains tax free. Why? Because it will have been my primary home for 2 out of the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Or because of this specific house, this is a 5 bedroom, 4 bath house that
Wow.
is like 5 to 10 minutes from SeaWorld. I may even convert it into an Airbnb.
That's right. Yeah. Because it's so close to all these attractions,
Yeah.
people would be looking for something like that that's really close by.
And the rental market for this specific house in this specific area, I would say about 2300, and my payment is 1485 or 1495.
Wow.
So, you know,
Congratulations on that, Ruben.
thank you.
Congratulations. And a couple of things with that nugget that you just gave me right there. HUD foreclosures. I'm looking into that right now, actually. And that's just because my real estate agent specializes a lot on that. I didn't
Hmm.
even know that
Yep.
until we kind of started talking a little more. She specializes in all of those houses that come on foreclosure. And so we will be meeting on Saturday in a couple days to be talking about how you can go about purchasing a foreclosure. But congratulations to you
Yes.
on that one.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
And as an agent myself, I've helped other clients do the same thing. We closed
Yeah.
on one, I think, in June. I believe it was in June, and my client bought it for 213,000. This specific property sold in 2018 for, I think it was 263, something like that,
Wow.
and he bought it for 213.
Those
So
are the deals right there, man.
yeah.
And that's another thing is it gives you so many options with real estate in general. Investing in real estate gives you so many options. Like you said, you already have exit strategies.
Hmm.
You have things that you can do. You can go this route, you can go that route. But the cool thing about it is that you have options. When you don't own any assets, you don't own any real estate. It's like, what are you gonna do? You can't do anything.
Right,
And
right.
then and then when you buy it so much under market value, that's awesome too because you have instant equity right there.
Right.
That's what we should be looking for.
Yeah. I told my wife, I said, if this house even sells for what it sold for in 2013, we're way ahead of the game already, you know.
Yeah.
But, of course, nothing's certain, nothing's 100% sure. But, if this house appreciates to 340, 350, man, we're even that much further ahead of the game, which
Yeah.
is a great thing. So, okay, now talk to us about any challenges or anything that you've learned being a landlord.
All right. Well, Um, I haven't really like come across anything so far
Okay.
being a landlord, but I'll just tell you what it's been like being a landlord, and maybe you can tell me like from your experiences
Okay.
how I'm doing and what I can maybe expect from doing it this way. All right. So, like I said, I just converted that house that I moved into in 2018 into a rental. I just converted that last year in September. So it's just been a couple months that I've been a landlord.
Mm-hmm.
I hired a property manager instantly, Ruben, just because I didn't want to have to deal with finding a contract and then, have like, there's some advice that kind of is out there in the
Mm-hmm.
internet that says if you're the landlord and you're the owner of the house and you have to like present it to them and show them the property, just tell them that you're the property manager. You don't have to tell them that you're the owner, because if you tell them that you're the owner, they're always going to be bothering you. And I don't know, I didn't feel that comfortable, like, trying to lie to tenants, or just not lying, but keeping it from them that I was the owner. And the thing about it is that my rental property and this property that I'm living in, they're only 4 houses down from each other. So my
Mm.
tenants are kind of like my neighbors. And for a while there, I did talk to them, and they did ask me if I was the owner. And I told them I was part owner, but I'm more kind of like the property manager. And eventually, like, they ended up finding out I kind of made a small mistake. I was sending a message to the property manager, and I accidentally sent it
Oh.
to them.
Yeah.
And so, in that text message, you could definitely tell that I was like playing the role of the owner. And so I'm sure the tenant was able to tell, and I just kind of had to explain, like, myself. And I don't want to do that anymore. So
Yeah.
I hire a property manager, and I'll just let them take care of it. If they ask me if I'm the owner, well, you know what? Yeah, like, I'm the owner, but I have my wife also as the owner, and
So
maybe like,
I was about to tell you,
yeah,
technically you are part owner because the other part is your spouse, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just kind of difficult and kind of awkward. Like, it was a little weird. But
Yeah.
I shouldn't have told them that I was like the property manager. I should
Right.
have just kept it as part owner. But so yeah, it's been a relief, man. I haven't really received many complaints. The tenants are great. One thing was that the garbage disposal kind of messed up on them,
Mm-hmm.
but the property manager took care of that,
Mm-hmm.
and so it was just good. It wasn't that bad. But one thing that I'm doing with this rental property that's coming up, the one that I'm buying next week on Tuesday, that one I'm gonna self-manage because it is out of town. It's 45 minutes away,
Okay.
and my property manager said that she didn't really want to mess with having to drive back and forth and showing the property. And I was like, you know what, that's completely okay, because the house that I'm closing on, that house that's 45 minutes away, it's already rented out. I'm going to be inheriting those tenants. So she wouldn't have to even worry about that. But then I was just like, you know what, I'm going to self-manage this one just to see how it goes.
Right.
So I am going to kind of learn on that aspect. And then maybe if it gets too hard, I'll probably hand it off over to her. And then she can take 10% of the rent again
Right.
on that
Right.
one.
Okay.
But
Okay. Well,
yeah.
I do self-manage. I never had never. I had heard the same thing, like you said. If you decide to self-manage, don't tell your tenants that you're the owner. Say you're the property manager. But like you, uh, that bothered me. I like to be upfront and honest with people.
Yeah.
It just to me that's shady. Whether that's right or wrong or indifferent, that's the choice I made, and that's what I
Yeah.
do. And funny that you just said that your tenants live just down the street from you. This house that I am in right now, I acquired this property as an off-market deal, and
Okay.
I live in it. Well, the reason I acquired this property is because this specific neighborhood, I have 3 houses because
Wow.
I just love this area,
Yeah.
and the rent markets are great. People really gravitate to this neighborhood. It's located close to downtown San Antonio and um, um, a lot of other things. So that's why I like it. And lo and behold, man, I found this property. I acquired it, never thinking I'd be moving into it. But my very first property is 3 houses down the street. And I
Wow.
know my tenants, they know me. But I've always told them I was the owner. I've always been upfront and honest with them. And man, it's really haven't had any bad experiences.
Yeah.
I have my systems in place, so being a
Yep.
landlord hasn't been that difficult. I would tell you the biggest thing for self managing is be able to have your processes and your systems in place
Yeah.
for marketing, for the showings, and then once you do get a tenant accepted, the collection of rent, and managing that. I do mine through Cozy. Cozy's been
I've heard
great.
Cozy is great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great. I love it. And now Cozy, I don't know how long it's been, but they have some new features in there where your tenant can actually submit a maintenance request or repair request, and you'll get an email. And
That's
the
right.
and the good thing about that is once you take care of that problem, you pay for whatever, get a copy of the invoice, you can upload that and then close that repair out. So there's a tracking history of those situations. So
Nice.
I love it. So self-managing. The guy that I use the most is my plumber. That's the last 40 years, 4.5 years that I've been a landlord. The plumber is the one that I use the most, and I would say the second one would be my HVAC guy. So
Okay.
those two key individuals are very very important, and I take care of them. I pay them as soon as they take care of whatever the problem is. It takes time to really get a good one. Once you find a good one, man, I would work real hard to take care of those individuals.
So let me ask you, how would you consider a good one versus how would you consider a good one? And how do you differentiate a good one between a bad one?
Yeah. So the thing that I look for is, first of all, do they have integrity? Okay.
Okay.
Now, I'm not a plumber, but I have a pretty good idea, what the problem is, may or may not be. Um, and first of all, when I found this guy, it was through a referral, right? So
Okay.
somebody else that I knew, he's the one that referred him to me, and I used him a couple times. So I look for timeliness, you know, I look for how quick are they going to respond. And my guy, like my plumber, for example, if he doesn't show up that day, he'll be there the next day thereafter. So he's very,
Hmm.
very quick. And then plus, once, whether it's a plumber or the HVAC guy, once they go and take care of whatever issue may be, I call my tenants, say, hey, how did everything go? Oh, it
Yep.
went great. It get fixed. Everything great. Okay. How was the technician? Oh, they're good. Okay. Any concerns, issues? No, not at all. So once I get that feedback from my tenants, I get a copy of my invoice, I pay them right away. And I think it's just building that trust, so to speak. Um, and I guess that's the only way I can answer it is: are they reliable? Are they trustworthy? And do they have the integrity?
Yeah. No, I think that's super good. That's awesome. I definitely have worked with some contractors so far in my journey.
Hmm.
I've had to actually get siding put on this house that I'm buying. Before even closing on it, I've had to do some repairs, and that's just the deal that me and the seller have worked out. But yeah, I've had to use some contractors for electrical, for siding, and I've been able to see, what things I really do like. I love the fact that, yeah, like how they're very timely.
Hmm.
If they're really good, they'll be on time. They'll tell you when they're gonna be there, and they're there. And if for some reason they're not gonna make it, they will text you and let you know, and
Hmm.
not just leave you in the dark and say, "Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot it. Something came up and I wasn't able to make it." It's like, well, it
Right.
would have been nice to know.
So I'll tell you another quick story. I had a flooring guy that I met, and I had two properties. And I said, hey, look, I need the flooring in this house. And then as soon as we're done with that, we're going to this next property. Okay, great, great. Everything was good.
Hmm.
And I learned a lesson from that. I said, okay, what time are you going to be there? I'll be there at 9 o'clock. Okay, fair enough. One thing that I've learned from that is for me to set the expectations right away and just be, hey, look, let's talk about this. All right. Let me explain to you how I like to operate. And I want to make sure that I show you respect and I expect the same in return. And the way we're going to do that is, first of all, we're going to be upfront and honest with us, and then we're going to be on time. So you're telling me that you're going to be here at 9 o'clock. Well, I can assure you that I would, aside from an emergency, and I know life happens, aside from that, the expectation is that we're going to be here. That's what I learned. I didn't do that. I just trusted that what they said was going to happen. And 10 o'clock rolled around. He wasn't there. I called him. He said, "Hey, my worker, his car, blah blah blah," which, you know, I wasn't buying that. He finally shows up at 10:30 and brings one other person, and he was just a helper, right? And this was
Mm-hmm.
about 2,000 square feet. So the guy's doing his thing, and I'm already upset. Unfortunately, I'm upset because he didn't show up on time, and I felt that he was not being upfront and honest with me. So I'm not real happy to begin with. So he starts the job, and then about 3:30, he says, "All right, well, I need to go get some additional parts for my tools. I'll be back tomorrow." I'm like, "Excuse me?"
Man.
I said, "Man, you've been here 5 hours." I said, "There's still plenty of carpet that you can be removing, clearing that out, cleaning it up. That doesn't require any special tools. All you need
Yeah.
is a hammer, a broom, a dustpan, and an additional person to start pulling that carpet."
Yep.
And so he did it, right? He did it, but man, I was already fuming. So and I allowed my emotions to get the best of me. By I didn't act a fool. I didn't say anything, but I made up my mind. This second property, I'm done. I found somebody else.
Yeah.
But I let him finish his job. The next day, the guy shows up with 5 helpers, 4 or 5 helpers. Man, they rocked and rolled. Beautiful, beautiful. They did a fabulous job. I was very, very happy and impressed with what they did. But the fact that he had already ruined
Mm-hmm.
day number one for me,
Yeah.
still, I stood my ground and I did not give him that second job. And
Yep.
unfortunately, we parted ways. He was not happy. He was not happy that he didn't get that second job. But I said, "Hey, man, this is nothing personal. This is just business.
Yeah.
I can't operate that way." And I paid him his money. He followed
Yeah.
through with his end of the bargain. I followed through with my end of the bargain, and we moved on. So I learned a very valuable lesson to kind of clear that up at the very, very beginning.
Right. Because it just leaves a bad taste in your mouth,
Mm-hmm.
and I know I would feel like, yeah, he did good, he made up for it, but who's to say that it's not going to happen again
Right.
on this next job? And I need to make sure that everything for my projects gets done in a timely and orderly manner, because I don't want another headache on top of everything else that I have to do. And one thing that does help, especially for these beginner investors and like myself, is that when I moved into this one, it was a fixer upper, Ruben.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to kind of just put some elbow grease into it. And I know exactly what it takes now to
Mm-hmm.
put in luxury vinyl plank. I know what it takes to remove carpet. It's exactly like you said. All you really need is a hammer. Remove the tack strips, get
Yep.
a little scraper, pull it all out, get the dustpan,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're done. And then you can start with new tack strips, get that hammer, put them back in, put glue, put the padding, and then put new carpet. Like whenever you fix your own fixer upper, you kind of go into it yourself. Now what a contractor does and how he might feel like whenever he does these jobs. So it's good for the beginner investor to know, so that he doesn't get ripped off, but then he also knows exactly what a contractor goes through whenever fixing a property.
Right. And
Yeah.
on that same line of thinking, Hiram, is when it comes, in my personal opinion, is property management. That's why I made a decision to be my own property manager. Now, I only have 5 rentals. Once I convert this one, it'll be rental number 6. So I don't have a lot of them. So it's doable for me at the moment. I can handle it. But here's the thing. I kind of have a good idea of how it works or how it should be working. So
Yep.
when the day comes that I hand it off, I'm going to be able to manage the property manager. I'm
Yep.
going to know whether he's doing it right or not doing it right, or maybe could be doing something better or whatever. Again, I don't claim to be the all expert in property management by no means, but at least I'll have a pretty good idea of whether is it going right or is it not.
Yeah. And that's a good point, man. Pero pues como I already started, I already
Yeah,
have a
yeah.
property
No, no,
manager on
no,
my
no.
first one.
But you're already going to do
But
it on this other property, so that's going to
yes, I
be a
am.
good thing. That's going to be a good thing. And once you get your systems in place, uh, it's not that hard. You're going to notice. Now, your property that's 45 minutes away, I think what I would tell you is make sure that you find your a plumber for sure, in that area or very close to it that you can rely on, because you'll probably be using that individual probably more than, at least that's been my experience. I use my plumber more than I use anybody else.
That's very interesting. Yeah, because the first thing that broke in this other house, or that had to be, fixed or looked at, was a garbage disposal. Who do you call for garbage disposal? A plumber.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's just kind of interesting that you said that, like,
Yeah.
plumber is the guy that you call the most. And the thing that broke the first time around here at my rental property was, something that a plumber needed to fix. And so I can foresee that I'm going to need a plumber again really soon in that property, just because of, I don't know, they're very handy. And a lot of the stuff that, needs to be taken care of in the house is mostly plumbing. They always talk about tenants and toilets.
Mm-hmm.
That's the stuff that kind of is a biggest headache for an investor. So,
right.
So, yeah.
So tell us about this next property that you're about to close. How did you find that, or tell us a little bit about that?
All right. Well, I'm really excited. My wife found this property on Facebook. It was for sale by owner, and the owner needed $25,000. That was his thing. He was like, I need $25,000 down, and I'm selling it for $75,000. So I immediately look at it, and I know that it's 45 minutes away, but that's not a big deal for me because I actually work in that other town 45 minutes away. So I'm there half the day anyway.
Oh,
so,
okay, great.
Yeah, so I don't want anybody to think that it's completely okay to just go ahead and invest 45 minutes away, especially as a beginner or whatever. But no, I work there. I know the area also. So I looked at it. My wife showed it to me, and I was like, this is a cheaper house. I think I want to look into this further. Let me call up the owner, see what's up. And I found out that that's what he wanted. And the reason is because he had debts that he wanted to get rid of, and he wanted to just move on with his life away from that town. And that was kind of holding him back. Well, I was like, man, I don't have $25,000 to give you down. Like, that's a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of pretty much came up with the idea that, I would give you, $10,000 down and leave the purchase price at $75,000 if that's what you want. But if you really want the $25,000, you're gonna have to bring that purchase price down to $55,000. And he was like, man, I don't want to bring that price down. And so right there, we kind of had to start negotiating, because I didn't have that much money. If I could, like, pull some money out of my 401k or make the deal work to where I can put 25 grand down, but I really didn't want to do that. And so that's why I was just hoping he'd just go for the option of, hey, let's go $10,000 down and leave it at 75,000. The comps in the area were actually going for like 65,000 to 70. So I was going to be paying a little over, but this is why it's a good deal. It's because the rent right there in that house is $1,500. And so that is way above the 1% rule, for those of you guys that know, the 1% rule. And so I was really excited about that. I'm like, the rent is $1,500. And he showed me, statements where the tenants were paying him. And the reason of that is because it's actually an oil field town. And in an oil field town, everybody's making money. And so the economy's normally doing really well. And so that's why I really was into the property so much. And we ended up coming with the solution of, you know what, I'm just going to go through my lender. My lender will pay you the $55,000. And that way you get all the money that you needed and more, and then I just end up owing my lender. And he was like, that's a great idea. Let's do that. And so that's what we ended up negotiating on. And I made a video about that. And the thing that I got out of that was the fact that if you really want a property, you kind of have to like find different ways to make it work. And sometimes, a seller is really willing to work with you, and you just got to look into it. Like, if my wife would have showed me that property and said, it's for $75,000, And yeah, like the rents are good, but like he wants $25,000 down. So no, let's skip it. Let's look at another house. Then I would have missed out on a pretty good deal because now my monthly mortgage is going to be $400 a month, and I'm going to be cash flowing around, 900 to $1,000 every month.
Wow. Wow.
So it's a great deal, but you just really got to look into it, and then you got to talk to the seller, and you got to say, hey, like, where are you at? What's up? What's going on? How can I provide a solution to what you're needing right now? And luckily I was able to.
All right, man. Congratulations on that. Congratulations. So,
Thank you.
okay. So is there if there was something that you could tell a brand new investor that has not acquired their first property, what would you tell them? What piece of advice would you give them?
I would just say, learn your market. You know how, like, Michael Zuber says, you got to really learn your market. And what I mean by that is study what's going on in the area. What are things going for? Just like how just like how you might know how much shoes cost and how much these pair of Jordans
Mm-hmm.
should cost versus these pair of Adidas or whatever, or like this iPhone versus this Android. That's basically the same thing that you're doing, but with houses. Just learn, like, hey, like a 4-bedroom, 3-bath house is going for this much. And then a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house is going for this much. And then just find out what's going on in that general area, because there could be a price difference in each area in that city. And so that's what I would say is just learn your market, know what things are going for in your area, rent wise and price wise, for sale and for rent, and then do the math, start analyzing some deals once you know what things are going for and see what works. And then after you kind of do that for a while, you start getting like the hang of it, and then you start realizing, hey, that one would be a good deal and that
All
one
right.
wouldn't.
Great, great. So Hiram, now let me ask you, uh, whoever watches this phone, or this phone, what am I saying? Whoever watches this video, um, what question would you ask an experienced investor? What question do you have right now that if somebody watches this, that's an experienced investor that you will want them to answer?
Well, maybe you can even answer this for me, but I've been wondering, like, once I run out of money, because I bought this one in September of last year, and then I'm already buying another one within like a 4-month span. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so once I run out of money, because this money I've saved up from my job, once I've kind of like run out of that cash, how else can I like get funding for my deals? Like, I know that there's private money lending, but I'm just kind of scared of going into that, just because, like, I don't know, maybe I'm still fearful that like a lender won't, or a private lender won't lend to me, just because maybe they don't have that complete faith in me.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I just need to build up that confidence to know, hey, no, like, this deal that I found is a good deal, you should lend to me. But yeah, I'm just wondering, like, can I take out a HELOC, or should I do a cash out refinance, or private money lending? Like, what route would I go? Which one would be the best
Yeah.
after I run out of my cash?
So let me just share with you what I've done. I've done a cash out refi. Now here's the thing: that property that I acquired it. I think I paid $160,000. The house was worth 195 when I bought it, so I had $35,000 in equity. 2 years
Okay.
later, it was already worth 225. So I did a
Wow.
cash out. I did a cash out refi, and so I got some funds or some capital from that. Another strategy that I've used is, like you just mentioned, the HELOC. I had about $35,000 available to me, and that is what I used for the down payment and the closing cost. All right. And then the third way I've done it is actually partnering up with someone else. Now I did have to provide half the money, but I put in 19,000. He put in 19,000. We combined that and bought a deal.
Okay, so let me ask you real quick then, Ruben. Like, for example, on the HELOC, um, you pull that money out of the line of credit, and so now you have this credit balance that you owe, right? So once you buy the deal, do you eventually refinance out of that deal so that you can pay off your line of credit, or how does that work?
No. So what I did, it's kind of like having a credit card. So picture yourself having a credit card worth $35,000. All right. You're not going to make any payments. You have no interest until you use it, right?
Right.
Okay. So obviously I pulled it all out and I acquired, I think that was property number 3 at that point
Okay.
when I got that. So now I have 3 cash flowing properties. Okay. They were all cash flowing in the 400s, 400 to 450. So I was grabbing that cash flow and making that payment to pay it off. So I was
Okay.
taking the cash flow from my rental properties to pay that HELOC balance. Okay.
Okay,
Right.
gotcha.
Plus, I was adding my own personal funds from just my W-2 job. So I attacked it with a vengeance.
Yeah.
Okay. And I paid it off. So now I reset that HELOC and now I have another $35,000 available.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
so it's rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then just using the cash flow that you're getting from all of your rentals to just attack that debt like with a vengeance. But the reason you use the HELOC is because like you found a really good deal and you just can't pass it up. So you go ahead and use that available credit that you have to be able to buy it. Okay.
Right. Right. And here's the thing: the interest on that. And talk to a CPA. I'm not a CPA, but
Right.
it's the interest on that is tax deductible.
Nice.
Yeah. So, and here's the thing: I will say this, Hiram, and I tell everybody I talk to when I tell that story is I would not have done that on deal number 1.
Yeah.
Okay. And here's another thing I want to say. If you are not financially sound and responsible as an individual, be very careful. Because here's the thing, that has to get paid. If you don't pay for that and you get foreclosed on, you just lost your house
Yeah.
because that's your primary home, right?
Right.
So that's why I would, tell people be very careful with that. The good thing for me is I was in a position that, let's just say that I had no cash flow, um, that I was breaking even on all my properties. I would still be able to cover that payment with just my
Right.
W-2 job. So,
Right.
and the payment was, I think it's $490. So, and I was making, let's say on an average $400 for every property. So that was $1,200. 400 of that was covering the HELOC payment. And
Yeah.
then I used my W-2 funds as well to just attack it. I paid it all off and I reset the balance, and then I acquired another property with it.
Nice.
And on that incident, I actually, on that deal, I actually bought the house at 100% financing. Okay. And that was because I borrowed 80% from a bank, but that 20% down plus closing, I borrowed it from my HELOC. I combined those 2 loans, 100%, and bought that property.
Nice. There you go. So I guess maybe if you had the opportunity to do a cash out refi, maybe it would be better to do that before maxing or even pulling out some money from the line of credit, right?
You
Or it
know,
just depends.
so here's the thing that you gotta look out for. Okay, like for example, I told you that I did a cash out refi on one of my properties. Okay,
Mhm.
so when I did that, because the value of the home was higher, and so and that opens up your ability to borrow more money. When you borrow more money, your payment goes up.
Right.
So therefore, whatever you're uh, cash flowing on that property, you're going to reduce it,
Okay. Yeah, it's going to be less cash flow.
right?
Interesting.
So
Yeah.
in my case, so that's why you got to be careful. That's why you got to work the numbers. You know how you hear people, do the numbers make sense? So
Right.
remember that. In my case, my specific case, my payment went up $90. But
Okay. So it's not that bad.
it wasn't that bad. But I made with this other property that I acquired, I was cash flowing $400. So I paid $90 to make an additional 300.
Yeah.
And then plus I acquired an additional property that I purchased with $37,000 in equity, and therefore my net worth went up. Now, different people have different philosophies and different thoughts about that.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
So it all depends on what your personal goals are, man. Really, at the end of the day, anything you do in real estate, it really depends on what are your goals. Some people want to acquire 100,000 units. Some people, they don't want that. They just want maybe 10 properties all paid off, where they're making $10,000, $15,000 a month, and they're happy with that.
Yep.
It all depends on what you or your goals are.
Yeah. Well, right. Yeah. Right now, I have the goal is to acquire as much real estate as I can. But I do want to be smart with it, right? Obviously, and go at my own pace. I don't want to just go crazy and YOLO my money. And so I do want to be smart with it and just go as I'm learning. But it would be nice to be able to get to a point to where my cash flow can replace my W-2 income. That would be so nice, and that's kind of like what I'm leaning more towards.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter how many units it takes to get there, but I would eventually want to cash flow even more than what I'm making from my W-2 job. Right now, it's around $4,000 a month. So it's doable, right? It's doable.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those of you watching, if there's any other advice that you could get Hyrum as far as getting the capital, or how to raise money, or how to acquire that next property when you're short on cash, please comment in the section below, and let's share that knowledge. So
yeah, I would really appreciate it.
Hyrum, man, it's been great. I want to respect your time as well. Thank you for joining me today on this conversation. It's been great, and I hope we can stay connected so we can just continue to talk real estate, kind of offline. And if I can help you with anything, let me know. And if I need anything over there where you're at, I'll reach out to you as well.
Yes, sir. I'm out here in Odessa, Midland, so West Texas, the Permian Basin.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been really good talking to you. I really appreciate it. It's kind of hard. I don't really have anybody, to be honest with you, in my circle of friends right now that is into real estate, because I'm a beginner, right? So I haven't completely made all of those connections yet that I can just kind of get around with. So talking with you has really been awesome. It's been inspiring, and I've learned quite a bit today. So I really thank you for all of that. And
well, my son lives in Odessa, and we were just there. Well, not in 2020, but in 2019, we were there for Thanksgiving. So he still lives there.
awesome.
But so whenever I go there next, man, I'm going to look you up.
All right, man. Yeah,
we'll have to get
go
together.
out for some lunch or something.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So, folks, hey, I hope you guys enjoyed the show. I hope you learned something. If anyone has any questions or any advice for Hyrum or myself, please comment in the comment below if you felt this video was valuable. And please, I'd ask you to please subscribe, share, and like this video, and push the word out. We're here just to try to help other real estate investors. This has been a passion of mine. So again, thank you for your time, and thank you for watching. Hyrum, once again, thank you. And man, I wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you. Really appreciate it, Ruben. Talk to you later.